Good morning, Magda. We are on. Let's go straight to the news. 29 June. What do we got today?
Good morning, Tom. Today in our podcast, we have a lot of information about green investments. And the first one is about Polpharma that receives 200 million zlotys loan from the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development for R&D and green. The EBRD loan will also be used to implement the Go Green modernization program aimed at minimizing the environmental and climate impact of the company's operations.
It's kind of interesting. This is interesting because the EBRD, of course, multinational corporation out of London, they're pushing their global agenda onto Poland. So you see Polpharma adapting more green and ESG initiatives because it's a requirement of EBRD loans. So it's going to get money. It's going to be tied to these new green initiatives, ESG initiatives. Even this has a gender diversity angle to it, which I thought was interesting. Okay, next story. What do we got?
Polenergia does green energy deal with GreenWay Polska charging stations. Polenergia Sprzedaż, a subsidiary of Polenergia, will provide green energy in the Energia 2051 standard to the current and planned GreenWay Polska electric vehicle charging stations, the company said. The contract will run until 2023.
Yeah, and this is interesting. GreenWay is a really innovator in the network distribution for cars, electric vehicle recharging stations. So they're out of Slovakia. I met the CEO a few years ago. Very innovative, in the leading position in Poland so far, and they've now got a secure deal with Polenergia, which is very strong on the onshore wind. And as you remember from our previous conversations, they are doing a big deal on the offshore wind. So now GreenWay has connected a purely renewable energy source into their electric charging stations. You know, that's the way it's supposed to be. So good for them, good for GreenWay. They're doing very well, and I wish them lots of luck. Okay, next story.
The next gaming company lists on NewConnect. Noobs from Poland, a Polish game producer that has been in the industry since 2016, will soon be listed on NewConnect. The Warsaw Stock Exchange has just approved its information document.
Another gaming company coming on to NewConnect, listed in Poland. Great for Warsaw Stock Exchange. We're going to have more stories about gaming even today, but also we're currently following that space a lot in the months to go. So next story, please, Magda.
PGNiG to boost gas production by 13%. Polskie Górnictwo Naftowe i Gazownictwo has completed drilling 2 production boreholes in the Brońsko field in Wielkopolska. The boreholes will allow for the extraction of an additional 120 million cubic meters of gas annually. For example, by 13%, PGNiG said.
Yeah, so you're seeing as the gas prices have increased, there's more production. There's no surprise. But this is a big gas field near Poznan. I think it's the biggest in Poland. And they're squeezing out more as the price of natural gas has soared in the last 2 years. So, okay, next story, please, Magda.
Orlen will be the first in Poland to test a private 5G network. The tests will take place at the company's main plant in Płock and will last until February 2022. They will be carried out in the real industrial environment based on the infrastructure of a production plant.
Yeah, and this is a big growth area for the 5G. Everyone thinks of 5G as the mobile phones, and yes, Wooch and Ericsson have already done a test case in there, which is really interesting. But this is a private operator implementing 5G essentially in their industrial complex. So there are lots of applications of 5G. We're going to be talking about that a lot more as the world keeps innovating in the 5G space. Next story, Magda.
10 Square Games surges on China Games approval. Just before the closing of Monday's trading on the Warsaw Stock Exchange, the share price of 10 Square Games shot up by over 13%. The reason for the gains was the approval on Monday of the Chinese regulator of 10 Square Games' Fishing Clash.
Yeah, great approval in China. Shares go up. And as some of our readers have asked us many times, cover more stock exchange listed companies. Here's some more news on 10 Square Games, up 13% yesterday. Big move on big news. Okay, next story, Magda.
PKP Cargo invests in intermodal hub to avoid Belarus road. PKP Cargo wants to turn Medyka on the Polish border with Ukraine into a huge Polish hub for Eurasian traffic. It is now operating 2 terminals, which it's opening up for container traffic this summer. The next step is to expand to an XXL terminal with large capacity.
Yeah, so PKP is getting EU funding for this, getting Polish government funding, and it's a big priority to shift some of the intermodal hub connections from the more risky Belarus into somewhat less risky at the moment Ukraine connections. So anyway, big project, big news, based, of course, on the geopolitics of Belarus getting very complicated, shifting the intermodal connections for Poland. Okay, next story.
Baltic Pipe construction on seabed begins. Construction work on the Baltic Pipe, which will bring Norwegian gas to Poland via undersea, has started with a vessel laying the first stretch of pipeline.
So talking about geopolitics, I mean, this is now, Poland's push to wean itself off of Russian gas is really working. So between the LNG coming in, plus this Baltic Pipe, they're going to be under the sea, Baltic Sea, of course, from Norway, huge gas fields in Norway, going into Denmark and into Poland. So Poland's, as you know, we've had this conversation here as well, is going to be completely off of Russian gas, I think within 2 years. So this is a big pipeline. They're moving very fast. They're totally on schedule, which is kind of unique. And they'll start, I think, October of next year, shipping the gas from Norway. Interesting deal. Great for Poland.
Okay. And the last story for today. Poland allocates 2.2 gigawatts of solar in renewables auctions versus 300 megawatts of wind. The Polish Energy Regulatory Office has announced the final results of its solar and wind auction for projects above 1 megawatt and another procurement exercise for renewables up to 1 megawatt in size. The tenders were held on June 8 and June 11, respectively.
So you can see, obviously, we're all about green these days, all about energy, a lot of energy news. And here we have the solar pricing coming down so much because of the technology innovation inside the solar panels, solar cells. We've seen that come so dramatically down in the last 3, 4, 5 years that it's a massive competition with any traditional sources, and they don't need the subsidies anymore. So that's a cool thing about renewables in this case. And here we have it even competing very strongly against wind. But watch, when the wind offshore comes in a couple of years, it's going to reverse that a little bit because it's going to be massive sources of wind power coming from the Baltic Sea. Speaking of that, you're on vacation in 2 days. You're going to be using wind power on your boats in Greece, right? You're going to be sailing?
Yeah, maybe not only a wind power, but also engine.
Yes. Old-fashioned, dirty petrol, right?
Yeah.
Okay, look, we'll talk about that tomorrow. We're on tomorrow with you for the last day before your vacation. Looking forward to seeing you in the morning. And I guess you'll have an extremely happy day tomorrow because big smiles on your face in the morning because you're going on vacation, right?
Okay, I hope that tomorrow you will tell us more about your vacation in Zakopane.
Oh, we'll see about that.
Okay.
See you in the morning. Great.
See you. Bye.
Thanks, Magda. Bye.